He needs to grow a pair, get the briefing.
This guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
Questions or
Oral questions.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
This week, Prime Minister has lost control. He's lost control of immigration, lost control of our borders. And now we're facing massive threats to our economy. Right now, there are as many as 500,000 people here illegally. There are 700,000 students who came here with the implicit promise they'd be able to stay forever. And now they're being told they have to leave with the temptation that they might head south for the much stronger economy than we have here, which would provoke a massive retaliatory tariff. So what's the plan to reverse all the damage the Prime Minister's done?
The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and Refugees.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hundreds of thousands of people come to this country every year and then leave. They're called tourists. Hundreds of thousands of people come here as temporary residents and then they leave. Some become permanent residents. There is a plan to achieve that. They will migrate into permanent residency, but not all can stay here. And when they refuse to do so, they will be removed. But you can't make this up, Mr. Speaker. What the member opposite, the Leader of the Opposition, is doing with the member of Edmonton Millwoods is going around to these people, pandering to them, promising them to have visas and promising not to deport them. That is highly irresponsible and it's incompetent.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, that member hallucinates almost as badly as his weak leader, who refuses to stand and answer for his own border failures. Let's look at his record. He opened Roxham Road. He kept it open for a year longer than the Americans required. He put out a tweet saying, "Welcome to Canada," inviting people to come here illegally. According to that minister's department, there are 500,000 people here illegally, all of whom could be tempted to go south of the border, provoking a massive retaliatory response. So once again, what's the plan to fix what he broke?
The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and Refugees.
Speaker, we'll tweet out the video of him pandering to people, entertaining false hope, promising visas to everyone, promising they won't get deported. That's highly incompetent. Worse than that, Mr. Speaker, is he's refusing to get his security clearance. That is irresponsible for any purported leader of this country, any responsible person in politics. He needs to grow a pair, get the briefing.
There is a large flexibility that the Speaker gives, of course, to the language that's used in here. But I think that might be beyond the border. I'm going to ask the Honourable Minister if he could just withdraw those words.
Mr. Speaker, I withdraw those words. On a day like this, I would say he's all flannel and no axe.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, once again shows the erratic, out-of-control government we have over there. His Prime Minister is hiding from questions. His Minister is losing control of his words and his mind. This is a government that is falling to pieces. The Prime Minister has lost control of the border, lost control of immigration, lost control of our finances, and now lost control of his caucus, who are saying that they've been intimidated into voting in favor of his tiny tax trick. He's lost control, but he's holding on to power.
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I don't know what the member is talking about. On this side of the House, we can have conversations, we can have debates, and we don't get shut down from speaking like the members opposite, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, let's talk about today. We are moving forward with a GST cut for every single Canadian. And what have we heard from the Leader of the Opposition? He's opposed to tax cuts, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, he's all talk, no walk. He's not there for Canadians. On this side of the House, we're going to support Canadians and let our members have debates and conversations. Thank you, Mr.
The Honourable Member from Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, this isn't a tax cut. It's a distraction before a much, much bigger permanent tax hike. Even his own Liberal MPs are now opposing this. The member from Hamilton East Stony Creek says that he was threatened with, quote, consequences if he voted against it. Rather than threatening his own MPs, muzzling them like he's accused others of doing, we have a weakened Prime Minister terrified of facing Canadians. So if he's so sure about his own leadership, if he's so sure about his own plan, why won't he allow his own MPs to have a free vote on this one today?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities.
Workers going for groceries, Mr. Speaker, who want to eat out, who want to buy gifts during Christmas, Mr. Speaker. That's who's on our mind, Mr. Speaker. Families who want to buy diapers for their kids, who want to buy kids' clothes. That young family who's excited about a new child coming into the family, Mr. Speaker. Car seats are expensive. There's a tax savings on that too, Mr. Speaker. The Leader of the Opposition supported this initiative in 2021, but doesn't want to now because it's a Liberal initiative. Will the real Pierre Poilievre stand up in this House of Commons?
The Honourable Member from Calgary, Forest Lawn. Sorry, I did not hear the Honourable Member, and I'm going to ask members to, if members were able to hold their voices unless recognized by the Speaker, it'd be easier for the Speaker to hear a statement. The Honourable Member apparently had mentioned the name of another Honourable Member. I'll ask the Honourable Member to just rise and use the name of...
It's an honest mistake, Mr. Speaker. I would show.
The Honourable Member from Calgary, Forest Lawn.
Turning temporary 2-month tax tricks won't save this desperate Prime Minister. After doubling housing costs, doubling the national debt, doubling food bank usage, now he's blaming Canadians for not feeling the vibe of this pricey gimmick. Now he's even threatening his own Liberal MP from Hamilton East Stony Creek for not supporting this vote-buying scheme. Instead of threatening MPs to take cents off Skittles, call a carbon tax election now so common-sense Conservatives can axe the tax for good.
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I know the Leader of the Opposition knows a thing or two about threatening his own MPs, because if they don't speak in 3-word slogans, we never hear from them again. But, Mr. Speaker, what I can say is that on this side of the House, we are excited to deliver a tax cut for Canadians. And for the mom who has to buy diapers and groceries and a car seat, this is meaningful for her, Mr. Speaker. Who it's not meaningful for is the Leader of the Opposition, because when it comes to supporting everyday Canadians, he would rather support himself than give them a break over the holidays. That's so disappointing, and Canadians across this country are disappointed in him. Thank you.
The Honourable Member from Calgary, Forest Lawn.
The only thing they're cutting is moms that have to cut down on the nutritious food that they can give to their kids and sending them into food bank lines. And after this temporary tax trick is done, they're going to jack up the carbon tax on April the 1st, making everything more expensive. And anyone who doesn't believe in this Prime Minister's radical plan, he threatens them with consequences. This inflationary vote-buying scheme will add another $6 billion to this Prime Minister's growing deficit. Instead of taking chump change off chocolates, call a carbon tax election now so we can axe the tax for good.
The Honourable Government House Leader in the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, the GST that we are proposing to remove is going to be removed on essential items like groceries, like children's clothing, like diapers and car seats. Mr. Speaker, I don't know if the honourable colleague has children, but if he did, he would know just how expensive those items are for Canadians. And for Canadians who have to buy these essential items, this tax cut makes a difference, Mr. Speaker. I don't understand why Conservative members of Parliament don't get that, but I hope they change their mind and support this measure because it's
Ask the honourable member from South Shore St. Margaret's, please. I will ask again the honourable member from South Shore St. Margaret's to please not take the floor unless recognized by the Speaker. The honourable member for Mission, Matsqui, Fraser Canyon.
Mr. Speaker, because the NDP Liberals are trying to fool Canadians with a 2-month tax trick, small businesses are being forced and are scrambling to reprogram their point-of-sales machines and to find the time and money to pay for these changes. It is a shame the Minister of Small Business knew and did not care that this tax trick would hurt the very businesses she purports to help. We all know an election is coming. Can we simply stop with the desperation and call for a carbon tax election today?
The Honourable Minister for Small Businesses.
Mr. Speaker, the only thing that member and his party can offer small businesses are slogans on repeat, cuts to programs that are essential, and cuts. So, Mr. Speaker, our tax break is not just good for small businesses, it's good for their customers. This tax break isn't just helping families, it's also supporting the entire community and boosting their neighborhood independent grocery stores, restaurants, retailers, and small businesses that power our local economy. CRA has provided further guidance on this today, which will help support small businesses, and small businesses can call the CRA hotline to get further support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Bay of Quinte.
Mr. Speaker, 40% of Canada's economy is tied to our relationship and trade with the U.S. But after 9 years, we have no softwood lumber deal. And what's happened? Tariffs have doubled, and they're set to double again if we have a first increase but a second if Trump gets his way and we don't fix the border. After 9 years, Mr. Speaker, we have lost 90,000 jobs in softwood lumber, 40,000 each in Ontario, Quebec alone. The last Prime Minister solved this in 79 days. It's been 3,311 days. Where's the plan for softwood lumber?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we will always stand up for forestry workers and our lumber industry. We stood up for Canada when the U.S. imposed aluminum and steel tariffs on us. What did the Conservatives said? They urged us to back down and capitulate. When we renegotiated NAFTA back in 2018, we stood strong and protected Canada's economy, while the Conservatives asked us to capitulate. We have a proven track record when it comes to negotiating, Mr. Speaker. We will continue to protect Canadian workers and Canadian industry. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Bay of Quinte.
Mr. Speaker, there's no Team Canada when the plan is to pile on taxes, make energy and production more expensive, and sideline our Canadian industry on the global stage. What kind of team has no game plan after 9 years, has lost 90,000 softwood lumber jobs, got kicked out of CUSMA negotiations, and sat on the sidelines when Mexico overcame Canada for the USA's #1 trading partner? But here's a Canada First plan. Axe the tax, scrap the cap on oil and gas production, and fix softwood lumber. Why doesn't the Prime Minister use that common sense Canada First plan?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister for International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, the U.S. is a very important partner to our economy and to our relationships with the rest of the world. When you talk about trade, we have $1.3 trillion of trade last year with the U.S., which is a record since we renegotiated NAFTA in 2018. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to be at the table with a Team Canada approach as we continue to protect Canadian businesses and workers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I ask the Honourable Member from Fort McMurray Cold Lake to please not take the floor unless recognized by the Speaker. The Honourable Member for Calgary Shepherd.
Canada's 3 million temporary migrants do not appear poised to leave voluntarily. That's the headline from a major Canadian newspaper. The immigration minister naively expects that they'll leave voluntarily. Migrant advocates admit they have no such plans. This sets the stage for mass overstays and more illegal border crossings into the United States. This strains our relations with the newly elected U.S. administration, now threatening a 25% tariff if we don't secure our border. What is the Prime Minister's plan to enforce the laws and ensure that people who need to leave do so?
The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and Refugees.
First, Mr. Speaker, the members opposite can get their facts straight. They float around numbers, 3 million, 5 million. They actually don't know what they're talking about in response to their own order paper question. I hear them heckling me, but who they really should be heckling is the leader of the opposition, who is pandering to all these groups, promising visas to everyone and not to deport anyone. That's not responsible. He really needs to grow up if he's going to be responsible. Thank you.
And I ask the Honourable Member from Grand Prairie Mackenzie, please not to take the floor unless recognised by the Speaker. The Honourable Member from Calgary Shepherd.
Mr. Speaker, the minister had no answers at committee when I asked him the same questions. He doesn't know his numbers because he has no plan. It's really simple. The lack of a plan threatens the integrity of our immigration system. It risks significant diplomatic damage with this newly incoming U.S. administration. Are they deploying more police to the border? They don't know. Are they deploying advanced technology, and are they using it for border surveillance? They don't know. Are they going to use CBSA with more resources, more agents on the border? They don't know. YouTube videos aren't enough. Will the Prime Minister present a Made in Canada First plan that will make sure that everybody that's required to leave will actually do so?
Here. Well. Order.
I guess you're not grown up enough, eh?
Order. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, it seems the Conservatives are a little nervous about me responding, probably because I'm going to point out the fact that they cut over 1,000 jobs from CBSA. They were warned that their cuts would lead to more guns, more human trafficking, more drugs entering our border. But what did we do on this side of the House? We reversed those cuts. We invest in our police services. As a result, we've seen an increase of 600% more misrepresentation in investigations happening, and a decrease of migrants entering the border through the south by 50% because investments work.
The Honourable Member from Haldimand Norfolk.
Mr. Speaker, a new study from the Fraser Institute has shown that that violent and property crime rates in Canada are exceeding those in the United States. In 2014, before this Prime Minister took office, crime rates were lowest. Now violent crime is up 43.8%, which is 14% higher than in the United States. Similarly, our property crime rates are up 27.5% higher than in the United States. When will this Prime Minister admit that he should abandon his failed soft-on-crime policies?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister for Public Safety.
While Conservatives use skewed data to talk down Canada, we're actually investing in the brave police who do this hard work every single day. And as a result of those investments, we're seeing massive success in our police services. For example, October 31st, the RCMP announced the largest, most sophisticated drug seizure with over 95 million of lethal doses of meth and fentanyl, because that's what investments make while Conservatives talk down Canada.
The Honourable Member for Haldimand Norfolk.
Now that answer would suggest that these statistics are all in our head, yet the data clearly reveals that Canada has become a much more dangerous place under this Prime Minister. Since 2015, violent crime is up 50% and gun crime is up 116%.
Those are numbers.
Since since that has happened, we have seen no urgency from this Prime Minister. Where is the urgency? When will he admit that his dangerous soft on crime policies has made Canada unsafe, and now Canadians are paying the price?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I think it's safe to say we don't want to know what's in that member's head. But on this side of the House, we are actually investing in the RCMP. We work with police right across this country, and as a result, we're seeing some of the largest drug and gun seizures in this country's history. Conservatives talk a big game, but what they did is they cut to the guns and gangs program to the RCMP. They cut resources at CBSA and our borders. And what did that do? That brought in drugs and guns into our country, and Conservatives made those cuts.